Hey guys, welcome to Operation PlayStation. I'm your host Dash. This week it's the God of War Ragnarok Review. Thanks to the kind folk over at PlayStation Australia for providing a review code. We got that coming up in the show today. We've also got some news on PSVR 2, the launch day and price here in Australia. It's a bit of a doozy, so we've got some news on that. And also just some other random tidbits like Nibel leaving Twitter, which is huge to be honest. And, you know, just some other stuff like The Last of Us HBO launch day, which is going to be really, really cool. I can't wait for that. But before we get into it, some housekeeping, just quick housekeeping this week. We don't have that much on the site. We went on a break this week because it was Melbourne Cup here in Australia, and I went away for a few days. So I was like, I'm going to take a break. I think I need a break. So I did that, and I went away for a couple of days. Before I got back to basically do some stuff. Obviously, got to review the biggest release of the year on PlayStation. So, in between our last episode to here, we've had just a couple of tidbits on the website. So, Dark Pictures, The Devil in Me preview is now live. Would love for you guys to go check that out. Thanks to Bandai Namco. And our PGA Tour 2K23 review is now live as well. Thanks to the kind folk over at 2KANZ. I will say that we do have a whole bunch of stuff coming up in the next week, and I can tell you what it is. It is new tales from the Borderlands review, our COD Modern Warfare 2 full review. We waited. We could have done the campaign only review, but I decided that I wasn't going to do that. I was going to wait until the release. I was kind of advised to as well, to be honest. But I mean, look, I was going to anyway. Basically, I wanted to include the multiplayer in the full review, so I kind of held off. So that'll be up next week. The Sackboy PC review will be up as well. So we've got a ton of stuff coming up on dashgamer.com, that's for sure. And of course, by the time you listen to this, our full God of War Ragnarok review will be live on dashgamer.com. So, in saying all that, we're not going to waste time today. We're actually just going to jump right into the news. The first bit of news actually comes directly from PlayStation themselves. This is from PlayStation Australia's Twitter. The PlayStation VR 2 launches on February 22nd, February 22nd, 2023, with pre-orders starting on the 15th of November. They follow this up, obviously, on the PlayStation blog. There are some more details on this, and it looks cool, but I will mention that the price tag is the big game changer here, especially in Australia. It's steep. I'll right off the bat, I'm just going to say it is a really steep price tag, and I'll translate it basically while I'm reading the article. This one is directly from Isabel Tomatis, the Vice President Brand Hardware and Peripherals of Sony Interactive Entertainment, who says pre-orders for the PSVR 2 headset games and PSVR 2 Sense controller charging station coming later this month. And the headlining of the article is basically PlayStation VR 2 launches in February at $549.99 USD. Now, in Australia, this is where it gets steep. $879.99. That is that's more expensive than the console. It's a big asking price. So anyway, this is what the article reads. Goes, over the past several months, we've introduced PlayStation VR 2 and provided glimpses into the next generation of virtual reality gaming, which will allow you to escape into new worlds while feeling a groundbreaking sense of immersion. Today, I'm very pleased to announce that the PlayStation VR 2 is officially launching on February 22nd, 2023. PlayStation VR 2 Sense controller charging station designed specifically for the PSVR 2 Sense controller will also launch the same day. That's pretty cool. Here is the PSVR 2 lineup and recommended retail pricing for each product. Availability in each country is subject to local import regulations. So here is the translated prices, obviously, for Great Britain, Europe, and Japan. So $549.99 USD, then euros, $599.99, pounds, Great British pounds, which is 529.99, Japanese yen 74,980. So it kind of equates there, but at the same time, I think we get a little bit of a hike due to just the import taxes here in Australia, which is just it's insane. And then the the Horizon Call of the Mountain bundle will cost €599.99. 649.99 euros, 569.99 Great British pounds, and 79,980 Japanese yen. It'll include PlayStation Store voucher code for Horizon Call of the Mountain, a PSVR 2 headset, PSVR 2 Sense controllers, and stereo headphones. So it's only an extra $50 on top in the US for the Call of the Mountain bundle, which is not bad. I mean, if you kind of think about that, that's pretty good. Still, $879.99 is not an appealing price tag for Australia, that's for sure. Considering the fact that we've already gotten the price here for the PS5 itself was $749 at launch, and then if you think about it, the price hike that we're getting is now $800 for the disc version. It's a big asking price to basically go from the console, the hardware itself, which is cheaper than the headset. It's steep, very steep. And I don't want to make that the main attraction here because, like, the specifications of this thing is awesome as well. Like, you get an OLED display on it, almost 4K. It's really 2K, but still, like, 4K eye per eye display, basically. A 90 hertz refresh rate, 90 hertz and 120 hertz refresh rate, which is amazing. Lens separation is adjustable, so you can adjust each eye, which is awesome. Field of view, 110 degrees. Sensors, motion sensor, 6-axis motion sensing system, 3-axis gyroscope, 3-axis accelerometer, attachment sensor, IR proximity sensor, 4 cameras for the headset, basically on the front. This is exactly how they did it with the PSVR and also the Oculus. The Oculus also has 4-camera headset on the front, so it tracks the IR movement. However, you do need the camera. You will need the PS5 camera to track your movement, basically. So it's a little different. The Oculus Quest 2, I believe, you don't even need that. Not that I believe, I have one. I have an Oculus Quest 2, or a Meta Quest 2, as they call it now. And you don't need an extra peripheral. It's all wireless. It's great to use, but yeah, obviously PlayStation want to keep it centralized with your entertainment hub, so that's why you will also need the camera. The VR2 Sense controller specifications are basically, the same as what you would get with an Oculus Quest. So it's a PS button, options button. So this is for the right controller. PS button, options button, action buttons, R1, R2, right stick, and then the left button. The left controller's a PS button as well. Create button, action button, triangle, square, L1, L2 button, left. So basically, they've split it up a little bit, which is kind of weird, but yeah, that's an interesting one. So they've put 2 of the action buttons on one controller and 2 of the action buttons on the other. I would have thought that they would have kind of designed it to be similar to like just a straight up DualSense controller, but I guess they, weird layout for the controller. Anyway, feedback on it. This is so the sensing and tracking and feedback. So the motion sensor, 6-axis motion sensing system, basically the same as just basically like a gyroscope controller. The trigger effect, though, does have haptic feedback, which is awesome. So you basically do get adaptive triggers and haptic feedback on the controllers, which is what you get on a DualSense. USB-C type port for charging, communications, Bluetooth version of 5.1, battery, built-in lithium rechargeable battery, which is a huge plus. One over the Quest and regular Oculus VR headsets that usually get. The controllers in those usually run on AA, which kind of sucks, to be honest, but that's a huge plus. So we continue the trend with rechargeable controllers with PlayStation. Big plus. Okay, let's kind of go back a little bit now. So There are some games going to be released for it, which is really cool. So I'm going to quickly reopen this Twitter thread with the releases here. So it continues on the thread. 11 immersive PlayStation VR2 titles arriving in 2023, including the Dark Pictures Switchback VR from Supermassive Games. Crossfire Sierra Squad brings fast-paced action to PSVR 2 next year from a developer Smilegate. It kind of looks like a well, if you've played Crossfire before, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. It looks like just basically VR Call of Duty. Climb the ranks of the Light Brigade, an atmospheric roguelike that begins pre-orders on November 15th. Alchemy Labs comes Cosmonius High. Okay, so from Alchemy Labs comes Cosmonius High. Jeez, a charming fix 'em up that has players managing malfunctions to get the school back on track. For the listeners, this is like a very cartoony looking VR game, which is all right, I guess. Survive a frozen post-apocalyptic Los Angeles in After the Fall, a co-op experience shared with up to 32 players. This actually looks all right. I like kind of the aesthetic they're going for here, which it looks nice. Hopefully, it looks really nice. That's all I can say. There's not much to it. There's a very very short trailers being shown off here. And the last one being shown here is you're just a multi-tentacle beast trying to find a place in this world. Details on the PSVR 2 enhanced version of Tentacular arriving next year. Cool. It looks like Octodad in VR. Okay, so like give me some final thoughts on it. It's fine. I've never been huge on PSVR. I think PSVR 1 kind of let me down a little bit with some of the quality of life aspect on it. It really kind of... There was just limitation after limitation that really started to show on that device, and it really kind of pushed. I don't want to say it was completely negative, a completely negative experience. There were some great things that came out of it, but it was just there wasn't anything that stood out. There was nothing that stood out and really kind of cemented the PSVR 1's legacy. Other than like one or two games, Farpoint was okay. It was fine. It wasn't nothing extraordinary. It still put VR on the map, I guess, PSVR on the map in a way that, you know, it was a great game, had an okay story, but it wasn't anything revolutionary in terms of what VR could do on PlayStation. And then there were, you know, titles that were ported like geez, I'm losing the title in my head right now, but Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls in VR was very much it was a bit of a dud because it didn't look great close up, and you couldn't really control your character properly. It was screen to screen to screen. It just didn't feel natural. Yeah, there was a lot to PSVR 1. Its limitations really kind of didn't help it in the end. So it really was to its detriment that there was so much limitation to it. So, but there you go. PSVR 2 will be out in February 22nd, 2023. I'm looking forward to it regardless. I don't think I'll be picking it up at launch. It's a bit expensive. I'll wait until it reduces in price. $879 is too steep. It's just way too steep of an asking price. As much as I cover PlayStation, I do a PlayStation pod, and as much as I would love to like have it in my hands day one, it is just too steep. I don't think I'd be rushing to the store to spend another $1,000 on, you know, PlayStation VR stuff. I did it when the PSVR 1 launched. I spent $1,000 on a lot of stuff. I think the launch price though was only $600 in Australia. So this is too steep, just too steep in Australia for an asking price. It's more expensive than the hardware itself. Honestly, if I was going to invest in another PlayStation 5, then that's different. But it's not that. It's a PSVR headset, and I don't think I would want to invest $879 in that, so it's too expensive. Anyway, the next one comes from Liam Croft over at Push Square, who says, The Last of Us HBO show confirmed to premiere on the 15th of January 2023. So he goes on, Naughty Dog has announced its TV adaptation to The Last of Us will premiere on HBO on the 15th of January 2023. In a tweet, the studio says, quote, "You have no idea what loss is. Hashtag The Last of Us premieres January 15th on HBO," end quote. The accompanying poster can be viewed below, which displays the logo, Joel and Ellie, played by Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey at the top. Troy Baker also tweeted out a similar tweet. So they've got all the actors from the game also tweeting it out. He quoted Joel from the game saying it's all about the little girl. So it's very much this is going to be I'm hype. Due to the way that HBO roll out its TV series, the first episode it'll be first episode rather than the entire season. Kind of sucks. I would honestly rather than just roll out the entire season so people can binge it. Speaking of binge, it's also going to be premiering in Australia on Binge that day. So that's cool. They've already worked out a deal to premiere it here in Australia. Binge, obviously being Nine Network's paid subscription, a competitor to Netflix and whatever else. Stan, I think, is still going here. Stan's still going, I guess. I mean, cool. At least we have a date, 15th of January 2023. That's not too far away. Not too far away in the grand scheme of things. That's two months and some change away. So it's not too far. Really excited to see what Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey bring, especially Pedro. He's a great actor. So, and that trailer that like he killed it as Joel in that trailer. Like, that bloke can act. That bloke can really act, I tell you. Especially like if you've seen, I know the latest Wonder Woman film sucked. It did, but he saved that. Like he was the star in that film because he's that good. So I'm really hyped for it. I think he's going to kill it. He's a very, very talented actor in a lot of his roles. I watched a lie detector test on YouTube of him. He did a lie detector test, and he was asked if he's played the game. He said that he had only played the beginning of it, but the rest of it he couldn't because he sucks at games. But at least he was honest about it, and he also said that when he watched the entire game be played, he fell in love with the role and everything else. So we'll see what happens. I believe that he's got it, in the bag, especially from what I saw in that trailer. So anyway, we'll see what happens. The next one comes by way of Anthony Wood over at IGN, who says, Sony loses nearly 2 million PlayStation Plus subscribers since service revamp, but hopes PS5 engagement will improve things. Now, I did see some commentary made on social media about this. Basically, the reason behind it is they think that people are actually going outside more, and there's a lot less people relying on home entertainment now because of the pandemic kind of slowing down and everything. I mean, yeah, kind of. I can kind of believe that, but at the same time, I don't know why they would immediately lose 2 million subscribers like that. That's a huge dip. But they did see a 10% profit up by 10%, and profit up by 10%, which is still good. It means that there may be less subscribers, but there are more people actually signing up to their premium services. So that's cool, I guess, but at the same time, a 2 million subscriber dip is still a large number. Anyway, the article reads, the number of PlayStation Plus subscribers has fallen almost 2 million since Sony launched its revamped subscription service in June. According to the company's latest financial report, Sony's multi-tier PlayStation Plus subscription service has dropped from 47.3 million at the end of June to 45.4 million in 3 months leading up to September 30, a decrease of 4%. Sony highlighted that the ratio of games subscribed to the service is significantly higher on the PS5 than it is for the previous generation PS4 console. In response, Sony leadership plan to accelerate the adoption of PS5 hardware to, quote, recover this user engagement going forward. If you can excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. The number of active users on the PlayStation Network also dropped by 1 million in the latest quarter to 102 million players. Though its numbers dropped on the digital side, Sony still had a strong showing when it comes to the PlayStation 5 hardware. The company announced it has now sold more than 25 million units and was able to produce roughly 6.5 million new PS5s in 3 months leading up to September 30. Sony announced the revamp of its PlayStation Plus service in March as a subscription somewhat akin to Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass, but didn't complete the rollout until June when the 3 new tiers arrived in Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. Though the Essential tier is essentially the same as the original service, the original version of PlayStation Plus, allowing users to play online, granting monthly games at no extra cost, the Extra and Premium tiers added brand new content. Both grant users access to a catalog of games from the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, including Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Dragon Quest XI, and Red Dead Redemption 2, while the Premium tier also comes with a classic catalog that includes games from the original PlayStation through to PlayStation 3, asterisk, not Australia, PlayStation 3. So, anyway, but, that's fine. I mean, look, okay. Let's talk about that a little bit. So there could be it could be a case that a lot of those users could be from Australia. I mean, the fact that we don't have access to PS3 games on those services, it's hard. It really is hard sometimes to justify PlayStation Plus, Essential, and Deluxe, or whatever they're calling it here now. And like I'm at the highest tier at the moment myself. And I'll go through that library and I think to myself, like the PlayStation 1 and 2 library is not really, doesn't speak to me. It really doesn't. I don't really care to go back and play those games right now. It's hard to kind of necessitate that subscription. To justify it in any way right now is difficult. And I don't blame these users for falling off if they were just there because of the pandemic. It's hard. It really is hard to justify it. And yeah. If it is the fact that people are starting to kind of drop off because of that, and also for the fact that, it's not cheap, these services. They're not cheap. They're $100 a year, And yeah, granted, they do give us online access and everything else, but man, like for free games per month and all that stuff, I would rather they do like a base service where they charge like $20 a year for us just to get online. And I know that their base service is essentially like, hey, we're offering you this so we can keep servers up, but also finance our servers. Like you get this, you get three free games a month, so we can finance our servers. But it is still steep, especially sometimes when they throw out those indie games for free. And it's like, man, I ain't paying $100 a year for this. I can go buy God of War for like $10 off, from a JB Hi-Fi. They had God of War 2018 for $10 on Amazon last week. So, people are only interested in playing the games they want. They don't have as much time as, like some people think. Like, now the pandemic's over, people are going to be busy again. They're not going to have time for gaming as much as they used to. So it really is a case that, hey, now we're starting to budget everything, and it's not essential to have PlayStation Plus. So if they want to make it an essential piece to gamers, their PlayStation, their audience, they need to start making it a reason out there for it to be essential, like Xbox Game Pass. I still think that's an essential piece of kit if you own an Xbox or even a PC now. It is essential to have Games Pass if you're a gamer. PlayStation Plus is just not that. It's just not that. And, I've been saying that now for however long this podcast has been going for in every iteration. PlayStation Plus is just not essential compared to, Game Pass. It's just not. So, anyway, the next one comes by way, it's actually from Push Square again. Kale Adam over at Push Square, who says, Naughty Dog and Sony's newest studio are co-developing a project based on a, quote, beloved franchise. The Smart Money says Sully is making a comeback. It's going to be Uncharted. Like, this has now been an ongoing conversation for years. It's Uncharted. Just tell us already. Last week, we brought you word that Sony is building a new internal development team in partnership with PSS Visual Arts, based in San Diego. This secretive support studio previously contributed to the recently Last of Us Part 1 from developer Naughty Dog. Now, another job listing in San Diego, in the San Diego area, has given us more food for thought, indicating that this mysterious title will be, quote, co-developing an exciting new project with Naughty Dog on a beloved franchise. So, there is a good chance. There is actually here it says it right here. According to reporting from Bloomberg last year, Visual Arts had initially wanted to remake the first Uncharted game, Uncharted Drake's Fortune, but due to the nature of the title and the work that would have been required, priorities were instead shifted to The Last of Us Part 1. Drake's Fortune could legitimately use a remake to bring it in line with the rest of the franchise, and so perhaps this is something we might see further down the line. There's also, it says here that there could be a Jack and Daxter sequel, but yeah, I doubt that. Yeah, this, I think everything points to possibly Uncharted Drake's Fortune, possibly Uncharted Among Thieves. I don't see them touching Uncharted 3. It's the least popular out of the trilogy, to be honest. Like, in terms of just appeal, story-wise as well, it just didn't, hit as hard as the first two. And it doesn't really need as much polish as the first two. The first two need just a bit of a tweak if you're going to bring it up. The third one could just be re-released with, a new trilogy that they did, when they re-released it for the PS4, the first three games. I really want to go back and play those games, by the way. They were excellent. Like, Uncharted 2 is such a timeless experience. You can go back and play that game forever. I played through that game. Like, if my PlayStation 3 could count hours, it would tell me that I'd done more hours on that game than what I have on Persona 5. Easily, hands down. Hands down. The amount of times I've replayed that campaign, I have replayed that campaign hundreds of times. That game is excellent. It's like rewatching your favorite movie over and over again. And I did that. And yeah, I got sick of it after a while. I haven't played it since the re-release on PS4. And would I go back to it? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I would go back to Uncharted 2. Uncharted 2 is the bread and butter of that generation. It really, it helped Sony when they struggled against, Wii and Xbox. If it wasn't for Uncharted 2, PlayStation would have struggled desperately in that era. It saved that generation of PlayStation. So we'll see. This is going to be an interesting story for months to come. But I tell you what, right now as it stands, I do believe that they are working on an Uncharted title, whether it be a remake of an older title or a sequel with, rumored that it might be Sam and Sully, or it might even be Elena and Nate's kid. Man, it's going to be awesome. I'll tell you that much. The next one comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says, as long as there's PlayStation, Call of Duty will release on it. That's according to Xbox boss Phil Spencer. Yeah, let's so the mysterious case of Call of Duty on PlayStation continues. They've still got the basically the court battle in the UK happening right now with the competitors bullshit that happens. I mean, we've got that here as well. We've got that law here, and it's going to continue until Xbox can, legally turn around and start chucking Xbox onto Game Pass, because that's what they want to do. They want to have that option. They want to have Xbox want to have that option of just putting Call of Duty Day One on Games Pass. That could essentially kill Call of Duty on PlayStation. Just fact. I know that not everybody owns a PlayStation, but not everybody owns an Xbox and not everybody owns a PlayStation simultaneously. They have their segregated markets. Obviously, people devout to one or the other. I am fortunate enough to have both, and if they're going to have it on Game Pass, it makes sense for me to play it on Game Pass. End of story. So, anyway, chatty Xbox chief Phil Spencer has reiterated Microsoft's commitment to releasing Call of Duty on PlayStation platforms, with his statement strengthening every time. As the trillion-dollar tech juggernaut battles to get its near $70 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard over the line, the suit has said that Call of Duty will continue to release on Sony systems, quote, as long as there's PlayStation out there to ship to, end quote. In other words, if there's a PlayStation in shops, Call of Duty will be available on it. It's only smart business. I mean, of course you want to put, one of the biggest sellers of any console title on every console. Yeah, albeit it will have that Xbox logo on it. Who cares? PlayStation did it with, MLB The Show. You load that game up on an Xbox, it'll still show a PlayStation symbol. I mean, and to even think of that, that's ludicrous. It's ludicrous to even think that that's a thing, but it is. That is a thing. Could you, to sit there, engage, and think that when you saw that trailer, that, when the MLB trailer dropped, I think it was 2 years ago, and that zoom out with the Xbox logo, and then right after that, it had the PlayStation Studios logo, and it's like, what the fuck was that? So it's going to happen again. It'll happen again. So regulators are still unsure of whether to greenlight Microsoft's proposed buyout, with Call of Duty being a big sticking point. Sony has argued that its business will be irreparably damaged should the acquisition go through, while Xbox has been eager to point out that it will continue to release on PlayStation regardless. Sony bigwig Jim Ryan recently went public about an inadequate offer his company had received from Microsoft, which pledged to keep first-person shooter on PlayStation for, quote, 3 years after the current arrangement his firm has with Activision Blizzard. Yeah, I do remember that. It is a bit of a rough one. But anyway, the latest comments on Spencer seem to go further than that, though. Quote, our intent is not to remove Call of Duty, and as long as there's a PlayStation now that it is shipped to, our intent is that we'll continue to ship Call of Duty on PlayStation, similar to what we've done with Minecraft since we owned that. We've expanded the places where people can play Minecraft. We haven't reduced the places, and it's been good. It's been good for the Minecraft community, in my opinion, and we want to do the same when we think of Call of Duty can go over where Call of Duty can go over the years. End quote. I think this is more Jim Ryan kind of having a cry than anything, because he can't get his way with the Call of Duty brand now. He needs to get over it, because to me it sounds like Phil's got his head in the game and knows what he's doing, especially with a brand that they own. They own it. He can't, it's like, I own this ball, perfect. I own this ball, and I'm not going to share it with you. No, hold on a second. Phil Spencer's actually saying, I have this. You want to. By the way, I'm holding like a light bulb, an LED light bulb for anybody who's listening to the audio podcast. Like, if you want to play with this ball, I am more than happy to share it with you. But understand that it's my ball, and I can decide what I do with it. That's basically what's going on. And now Jim Ryan's, trying to call a bluff here and go to courts and make a big deal out of a video game that's essentially not theirs to do. Like, it's like saying, it's like Xbox coming up to, PlayStation and saying, "Hey, look, would you guys be willing to put like God of War Ragnarok on Xbox Series X?" Of course they won't. Of course they won't. They can't. Like, okay, fine. Activision were an independently traded. Like they were a publicly traded company, but they were independent. They were independent to Xbox and PlayStation. Now that Xbox owns them, they can do whatever the fuck they want with it. That's just fact. So Jim Ryan can have a cry. As far as I'm concerned, he can have all the cries, mate. But at the end of the day, they're gonna pass this. They're gonna pass this, and they're gonna be able to do whatever they want with that. And yeah, they're gonna have to accept the fact that Call of Duty is gonna end up on Game Pass. End of story. So, whatever. This one's a bit heartbreaking because I'll put it this way: the person that we're about to talk about was a huge source for gaming news and insider, journalism and everything. So, this one comes by way of Richard Breslin over at GameBite, who says, popular video games news curator Nibel quits Twitter. Yeah, this is huge. Nibel, the popular video game news curator on Twitter, has quit the social media platform following the Elon Musk takeover. If you regularly follow video game news, especially on social media, there are chances that you've heard of Nibel. The individual was a reliable source of information that regularly tweeted breaking news to share with 450,000 followers. And by the way, out of those 450,000 followers, there were pretty much every single major gaming news outlet. They relied on this bloke to break news. So this is huge. This is major news. Daniel Ahmed, who's also kind of grouped in that, also says, I think that says a lot. It says a lot. He tweeted this, by the way. I think it says a lot that there have been multiple news articles about Nibel leaving Twitter, not to mention his account was the number 4 trend on Twitter US. His contribution was immeasurable. We'll miss his presence on here for sure. I wish him the best of luck for the future. In his stead, I guess, Daniel Ahmed kind of goes up. So, Nibel did say goodbye. He also quit his Patreon. Like, he closed down his Patreon pages, which sucks. He, used Shigeo Kageyama, who's also known as Mob, from Mob Psycho 100, as his avatar, and Jeff Keighley also tweeted that avatar out, in reference to Nibel leaving Twitter. But Nibel did say goodbye, basically stating that he had a Patreon up. Nobody contributed or helped to his Patreon, which kind of sucks because the guy worked really hard on, all the breaking news that he put out there across social media and helped, aid these big companies, and they never kind of helped him back. That sucks. That really, 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 really sucks. It speaks volumes to smaller creators like myself, that really work hard on stuff and go out there to kind of make a name for themselves and kind of get not even a pat on the back in return, just sourced. And for him to have a community of 450,000 followers and not get any kind of support from them. I mean, I understand we're kind of in a questionable period financially, just coming out of a pandemic, but even like very little support, even from those bigger corporations that he has aided, again, speaks volumes, and it sucks. So, I wish Nibel the best. I hope that we see him again on another platform, maybe. I'm already looking at other platforms besides Twitter myself. Mastodon is probably going to be the one. There was also another one that Maddie from EXOK Games, Maddie Thorson, creator Celeste, also tweeted out. I can't remember what it was, but she's also looking to leave the platform now. So I'll tell you what, Twitter is going down the toilet fast. I'm not surprised. I'm not really that surprised, but yeah, here we are, and this might be the end of days for Twitter. So just like it was MySpace, people are moving from there to Facebook. Now Facebook's in the dumpster. Now Twitter's in the dumpster. Social media keeps evolving. into new places for people to kind of land. But I think now we're in such a oversaturated space with the internet and where you can go, that it's not going to congregate into just one place anymore. People are going to be choosing their spaces to basically hang out in. And I'm okay with that personally. I think that it's a good thing that it kind of separates everybody again and not kind of segregate it, like not puts us all into one place again. I think that Twitter's kind of been more harmful than has done more harm than good. Kind of congregating, our entire fucking population on one space. So, yeah. Anyway, PlayStation Discord full integration reportedly coming at the beginning of the year. This one comes by way of Christopher Costello over at Game Rant. New information hints that the long-awaited Discord integration for both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 may be included as part of a new console update. He goes on, new information from a source with a history of accurate leaks hints that full Discord integration on PlayStation 4 and 5 may be included as part of the future system update for Sony's consoles next year. This comes following the recent update to Discord mobile app on iOS that saw some users receive prompts to join Discord voice chat on PS5, even though that feature is currently unavailable on PlayStation. Discord is a voice chat and messaging app released in 2015 and has become indispensable for many gamers in recent years, combining the VoIP functionality of programs like TeamSpeak and with the ability to create individual servers with chat rooms and topic threads. Discord lets players quickly connect with teammates without having to rely on sometimes spotty communication options built into many multiplayer games. The ability to create a persistent space tailored around communities has also made Discord popular with game developers and streamers who can now receive instant feedback for their most ardent fans. Discord is free to download and use, but users can pay for Discord Nitro to unlock additional functionalities such as custom stickers within the app. Cool. Okay. So, yeah, Discord's coming to PlayStation, and I think that's going to be a major step up from, party chats on PlayStation that exist already. It's been rough, man. Like, when PlayStation 5 came out as well, it was worse. So I'm glad that we're kind of taking that step up now. And, PlayStation 4 party chats were just terrible. Like, that would drop. They would disconnect. They would tell people, hey, have you even got a network to connect to? And it's like, I'm connected. I'm playing online right now. Can you just let me talk to my friends? So, sometimes I would actually use Discord separate from party chats on PS4 to game with people. So now that it's actually integrated on the platform on the units themselves, that's going to be spectacular for gamers, and also to create spaces as well. So you can join Discord and also go, okay, I want to join, a space for so-and-so game and play multiplayer with those people. Or even, I'm playing a single player campaign. I'd like to get some hints. Hey, maybe there'd be like a party chat that I can quickly jump into and ask somebody for some help. That's cool. Discord will benefit from this greatly. So will PlayStation. I think this is going to be huge. I think the problem, though, that we might run into is just an overpopulation of unnecessary Discord servers. There's a lot of them now. I mean, yeah, you can't have countless and limitless servers, obviously. There's going to be something that Discord are going to turn around and be like, look, we're going to have to start charging some people some stuff. And obviously Discord Nitro is a good funding point right now in aesthetics and stickers and emotes and all that other jazz. But where's that limit going to be? So we'll see if that ever happens. But I mean, look, it's a step in the right direction for both Discord and PlayStation. I think it's going to be huge, especially considering that, this is a plus for PlayStation, considering that Xbox wanted to acquire Discord at one point and they didn't, and that deal didn't go through. So anyway, we'll see what happens when Discord lands on PlayStation very soon. This is the last piece of news before we jump into our God of War review. This one comes by way of Sony Santa Monica themselves. Well, actually, no, this comes from Sammy Barker about Sony Santa Monica. So Sammy Barker over at Push Square says, Santa Monica Studio pleads for minimal God of War Ragnarok spoilers as game leaks. Boy, that's a shame. Yeah, so if you don't know what's happened, the game has already been sold in many places around the world. there are just places around the world that they can't control that. These titles get released and they don't have like those restrictions, those embargoes in place, and Sony can't police that globally. Like it's just impossible sometimes. Stock lands in a place that they can't control that by law, and yeah, this happens. So, there was a message actually directly from the Sony Santa Monica team, which I'll actually pull up first before we jump into the article itself. So the team behind the game said, as we approach launch, it is important for our studio to preserve the experience of God of War Ragnarok for players who want to enjoy the game for the first time without spoilers. We ask that you please be considerate of the many fans who do not want to accidentally see clips, gameplay, or narrative spoilers and avoid sharing them wider. We are doing our best to limit exposure of unsanctioned footage and screenshots, but the reality is that we cannot catch everything. For those of you who do not want to risk seeing anything before launch, we strongly advise that you mute any keywords or hashtags associated with the game until release day. We appreciate the support you've shown us more than we can say. We can assure you that it will be worth the wait to experience the game yourself when it is released in less than 2 weeks on November 9th. Thank you, Sony Santa Monica. I can say that now. Yeah, it will be. I can say that now. The original story from Sammy Barker says, an idiotic reviewer had already spoiled some sections of God of War Ragnarok earlier in the month, but now things are about to get really wild. As retailers begin to break the street date, Santa Monica Studio has been keeping its hotly anticipated sequel under wraps, and still very little is known about the title, even 2 weeks prior to its release. However, with the game now in consumers' hands, it's going to be difficult to sidestep some of the spoilers that will inevitably come out. Corey Barlog, the director of the previous God of War, took to Twitter to express his displeasure, referencing the recent situation with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which only has 70 megabytes of data on its Blu-ray. Barlog said, right now I can really understand the benefit of having just an installer on the physical disc. Retailers selling the game 2 weeks before release is just so disappointing. Barlow continued, quote, sorry to everyone that you have to dodge the spoilers if you want to play the game fresh. Completely effing stupid. You have to do this. This is not how any of us at Santa Monica Studio wanted things to go. There was an update as well to this that says Sony at Santa Monica has shown little of God of War Ragnarok as possible prior to release date, so it's a shame to see the game break street date and begin. And then they submitted the statement. Yeah, that sucks. We're at now 6:05 p.m. as I'm recording this. I have my review ready to go at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning, which is when the embargo breaks in, which is when this will be published. But in saying that, I haven't seen anything posted on social media, which is good in a way. I mean, I guess I've played the entire campaign now. I know what happens, but for people who haven't had that, who haven't been unfortunate enough to actually stumble into them, that these spoilers, that sucks. It sucks that people do this. Great, you got the game early. Enjoy it for yourself until people get their hands on it. Don't be a dick. Don't be posting these spoilers out of spite or trying to be popular or anything like that. Just sucks. As reviewers, it's part of our job to do this, as in hype promotion. It's promotion. It's promotional material for Sony. It's promotional material for play. That's our job. That's part of our job as reviewers, that we are advised to do that. A little bit of inside baseball for you. We're advised, hey, if you want, you can promote it, which is basically saying, hey, please promote it for us. Please promote the fact that you have it and you're willing to review it and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be the biggest release of the year. That's part of our job. So, I don't know, man. It's not part of a consumer's job to spoil it for people. That's not part of our job either. Like, I'm about to review this game, but I'll be honest with you. I'm still shackled, man. Like the embargo on this thing is rock solid. Like it's tight. It's real tight. There's barely anything I can talk about in terms of the story. Like, but it's the basics. It's the basics that I can talk about on in the story. Gameplay wise, I can talk about, I guess, up until a certain point. But I'm still like embargoed until launch. I cannot go completely in depth, which kind of sucks because writing the review was difficult. It was difficult because there is so much that happens in this game that I wanted to talk about, but I can't. And yeah, it just makes reviewing this game very difficult in that sense. But there are people out there who are already talking about all the spoilers and shit, and that makes me upset as a reviewer. It aggravates me that there are people kind of going above and beyond to spoil that for people because it's going to be the biggest PlayStation release of the year. You know, if you're a video game fan, don't be a dick. Just don't do it. You know, just don't be out there spoiling the game for everybody. That's pretty much, all I have to say on the matter, but yeah. Anyway, let's talk about it. PlayStation. All right, it's the big one. Thanks to the kind folk over at PlayStation Australia. I have been sitting down for the last week or so, actually a couple of weeks now, playing God of War Ragnarok for review. So, once again, thanks to the kind folk over at PlayStation Australia for providing a review code. Oh, boy. So, again, this is going to be an interesting one to review. And the reason I say that is because we're very, very much kind of still... We're like, the embargo on this thing is like really tight. And it's going to be a difficult one for me to kind of talk about. But I can talk about the premise. I can talk about some of the gameplay and some of the elements that have been improved in terms of a technical sense, aesthetical, and everything on that. But it is still so tight-knit that there is so much that I have to hold back and hold back my excitement. Let's just get it out of the way what I scored it on Dash Gamer. 10 out of 10 game. Easy. 10 out of 10 game. This thing is going to be the biggest the biggest gaming release of the year. Like, no doubt. No doubt. It really has killed it. It's a technical marvel. Written... It's just a masterclass in writing, visual audio. I think that designing the game as well, really you can tell that there's been so much heart put into this. It's just kind of taken everything that you love about God of War 2018. I just call it God of War 18. God of War 2018 and made it 10 times better. The game runs like just so spectacularly on PS5 as well. I am actually playing it on favor and resolution mode. So resolution mode, I'm running it at the moment. I could put it in performance and it would run at 60 frames per second, but personally I wanted to kind of get everything from it. I wanted to see the pores. I wanted to see the creases. I wanted to see the crow's feet on Kratos' eyes. I wanted to see the follicles in his beard. I wanted to see everything in this universe. The grains of snow just shimmer as you're crunching through it and everything else. You feel that in the controller as well, which is just, again, sensational. It is one of the most immersive experiences that I've had the pleasure of playing this year, for sure. Controlling Atreus as well with his bow and arrow, some new features that are there. You get upgrades to his bow and arrow throughout the game that kind of amalgamate new spells within it as well. There is... Oh, man, I can't... Oh, geez, there is something that happens that I can't talk about. So there is a pivotal point at the beginning of the game that I can't talk about that leads you into basically the campaign. It's hard. It's hard to talk about this, I'll tell you. There's a pivotal point at the beginning of the game that kind of sets you on your way, that takes you through, it's basically 3 years after the last game, as far as I can remember. 3 years. 3 years after the last game. Fimbulwinter, basically, it spans 3 summers, for those who don't know. But it is also drawing closer to Ragnarok. So the prophecies are actually starting to tell, okay, Ragnarok is approaching, and Atreus and Kratos, Atreus believes that they can stop Ragnarok from occurring. But Kratos is like, stop with these these stories, boy, and it's time to train, boy, and all that. Like still Kratos in the end. He's basically like, hey, no, sit down and train. That's what we're here for. Well, not sit down. We're here to train, boy. We're here to train for these kind of events if they were to take place. Obviously, Kratos not being a huge believer in the prophecies and all that kind of stuff, it's hard for him, but it takes, a little bit of convincing from Mimir to kind of push Kratos forward as well, to have a little more faith in his son, to basically be like, look, I think you need to kind of let the boy take the lead for a little bit. Understand that there's going to be a time where Atreus is going to not be by your side anymore. He's going to go lead his own life, just as you did. So let him do stuff and support him in doing that. And like grumpy old dad, which is always funny. There are some comical moments in the game which made me laugh pretty hard. I can't. I won't say it. There was a moment when we're reintroduced to Tyr again, and I can't say it, but it was pretty funny. Also, was it Sindri as well? When we get reintroduced to the elves as well, we there was a really good moment. Oh, can I say it? I really want to say it, but it's almost like so good that I think it hits hard when the dialogue hits Kratos when he's offered. So I'll make it kind of just a little bit of an explanation. So basically, Kratos finds out that Atreus is getting aided. He goes over to the elves universe and to kind of confront them because they're being aided by Atreus, and he says, the one that I won't say who, but basically the elf offers Kratos food, and the dialogue that is there, because Kratos is kind of very unconventional in the way he speaks. He talks like a general, but everybody else in this universe talks normally. They're like, hey, what's up? Want this, what that, and Kratos doesn't kind of approach that, in humanoid or like just casual form. He pretty much like speaks like a general. So when he's offered things from people speaking normally, and his response is, it just kind of humanizes Kratos a little bit, and there's a little bit of there's a comical side to it, which it really helps kind of connect the player with Kratos a little more. And that helps. It aids it. It aids the entire campaign a little bit. Then, of course, there's the pivotal moment for those. I'm not going to spoil the end of God of War 18 as well, because there's not many that have played it, and there are people who want to play it before getting into Ragnarok. But the ending to God of War 18 does have impact to what is happening in this campaign. Obviously, they really have thought this through of how and why Atreus and Kratos need to get out there and stop Ragnarok. And yeah, there is a deep seated connection between these campaigns. Whereas God of War 2018 was being the initial reboot to the previous. There is there are references to Kratos' past, and it obviously kind of speaks when the gameplay changes as well in terms of artillery that is used. Not just the axe is obviously back from the previous game, but there's also the Blades of Chaos make a return as well, which is trademark Kratos from before the reboot. And to reuse those in this is excellent. Like, you feel like a freaking badass when you pull these things out. Like, when it really feels like, okay, we are getting peak Kratos here. Like, old man Kratos peaked here. And this is like the story to basically when he aids Atreus, it's like, I'm going to start, okay, boy, you've seen me do this for years. Now you're going to see me pull out these freaking blades. And this is like going to be it. You're going to learn that your dad was a fucking badass. And it really is. Like, you feel like that moment that he pulls the blades off the wall and like loads himself. Oh man, this game really kind of just speaks to every level of old school God of War and crosses that bridge. It bridges the gap between old God of War and new God of War. And it's going to be a delight for both fans that were devout to both types of God of War. In that as well, a lot of the gameplay, I will say, is very similar to God of War 2018. The axe and everything else, the control scheme is identical, basically, like throwing the axe, bringing it back like the boomerang and everything else, charging it up. You can charge up as well the blades, just like you did in the original, by swinging it around, and it kind of flames up, and then you can, utilize it. There's also enemies that essentially come back to life. The undead enemies come back to life again. Like I can't remember which one it was. Was it Ascension? I think it was Ascension, where you fight like zombified enemies as well. I can't remember which one it was. So yeah, deep Norse mythology is happening in this title. Very deep. Thor, Odin, everything else. Like this is huge. This is huge. And like I said, I'm restricted to what I can talk about. But I'll tell you what, from what I can tell you, this thing is going to be Game of the Year tiered almost immediately. There are going to be so many people talking about this game for years to come. I think they've really taken the next step in presenting what the PS5 is capable of with this game here. Horizon Forbidden West did that really well. I think that if anything, those are going to be the two games that step out, that outshine everything else this year. Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok. Those two are going to be like head to head in terms of like what will be Game of the Year. In terms of which one kind of has the edge over the other, it's hard. It's hard to kind of gauge that right now. It's really going to be there's going to be having to sit down and have a long evaluation over which one's going to have a lasting impact past its expiration date, basically. But it right now where it is, I think God of War really kind of speaks volumes to that father and son story and how they kind of mastered it with 2018. The 2018 version is a masterpiece. The Ragnarok is a masterclass. It is now the cornerstone of the PS5. This thing is going to be the Uncharted Among Thieves to PlayStation 3, now to PS5. I think that, if anything, it's going to really kind of influence a generation as well in terms of what we might see in gameplay, adventure, like action-adventure story style gameplay and presentation. There are a lot of games out there that do it really well, but I believe that God of War is really kind of accentuating what is capable with PS5's hardware. It is a magnificent game. Like, in terms of aesthetic, it is gorgeous. One of the best looking games I've ever seen. There are moments in it that just will have your jaw dropped in awe of how this game looks, how real it looks, how well they've kind of improved over. Like, there's an example that I used. So in God of War 2018, when you upgrade Kratos' armor, he has there is one bit of armor. I can't remember the name of it, but basically it's a red sleeve and it's patched, crisscross patch on it, and it just looks kind of flat textured. There's no detail in it. There's no like lumps that kind of give that detail of, okay, this is crisscross pattern patched or whatever. But there's that level of detail, that level that really kind of they push that in this. to every single minute detail. I would just bump the mic because I'm talking with my hand so much. But there is so much detail put into this thing that it just speaks volumes to what Sony Santa Monica have done with the God of War series. And how big of a marvel this franchise is now. They've taken what God of War was on prior generations and have now made it into a juggernaut, a global sensation. And this is going to just push it further. You know, we talk about some of the character development between Kratos and Atreus. The fact is that this pushes it further now with Atreus, not so much as a boy anymore. He's becoming a man. He's a young man now. And it's almost as there is a volume of acceptance in this story that Kratos has to overcome. And you, as well as the protagonist, as acting as the protagonist from God of War 2018 to Ragnarok, there is that level of acceptance, especially if you've connected with that title. You know, if you've connected with that title really, really hard, which a lot of people did, including myself, there is that level of acceptance that you're going to struggle. You will struggle mentally while playing it to kind of overcome, to like see Atreus as an independent individual, or accepting that he will become that. You know, you want to see that though. Like you want to see that. You want to see that father-son connection, but you also want to see your son become that God of War. You know what I mean? Like you want to see him become just as powerful as Kratos, his father, but you know that he's also going to be loving and accepting like his mother. So there's that difference, you know. There's also some very funny dialogue, just like the first one as well, between Atreus and Kratos throughout the game. Very father-sonish, but also very jocular. Yeah, I can talk about this. So there was one point near the beginning of the game where, as you're kind of just sailing through some of the, I won't say exactly where, but you're sailing on a riverboat, and Atreus is kind of asking Kratos about his mum, because there is another pivotal point of the story. I won't say what, but basically he asks his dad, like, what was it like with mum? You know, did you just turn around and be like, woman, I'm going hunting for fish. I'll be back this evening. Prepare for my feast or whatever. And, Kratos just kind of being like, like, stop making fun of me, boy. It's very funny. It's a little, there's heartfelt moments between Kratos and Atreus there that made me really kind of enjoy that so much. It really kind of, it spoke volumes to what that relationship is between Kratos and Atreus. I know that, like, it's almost like Atreus wants more of that human side of his dad, and he doesn't get it. Even though Kratos kind of shows, I think Kratos is very much showing his human side in this game. There's very much moments where you'll see it and you'll be like, shit, this is the same guy. If you've grown up with God of War titles, is this the same Kratos? Is this the same guy that I used to see rip heads off people? It is, but you're starting to see him kind of become dad, even though he was trying to be dad in the first one. I think there's more of that now. You're starting to feel that more. I think there's going to be really an acceptance here to overcome with Kratos. It's so hard to talk about, but it's so good. It is going to be such a impactful title coming out of 2022. I think that this might very well be Game of the Year. So, huge thanks to PlayStation for providing a review code. Make sure that you jump onto dashgamer.com right now. The full review is up as this is released as well. But yeah, enjoy God of War, guys. It's going to be a ripper of a game. All right, guys, it's time for the drop, and we've got some releases over the next couple of weeks that are coming out, including Sonic Frontiers for PS4 and PS5 on November 8th, as well as Football Manager 2023 on PS5. On November 9th, the big one, God of War Ragnarok. on PS4 and PS5. Also on November 9th, Dark Ultimate Edition on PS4 and PS5. On November 11th, Tactics Ogre Reborn on PS4 and PS5. Hidden Through Time on PS4. On November 15th, Bravery and Greed for PS4. On November 16th, Call of Duty Warzone 2.0. On November 17th, Goat Simulator 3, as well as Star Sand on PS4 and PS5, My Fantastic Ranch on PS5, and then on November 18th, Ease 8, Lacrimosa of Dana on PS5, as well as the Dark Pictures Anthology, The Devil in Me on PS4 and PS5, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales on PC on November 18th, as well as Heidelberg 1693. So we've got some big ones. It's on PS4 and PS5, by the way. So we've got some big ones coming out. So Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, for those who haven't played it yet, amazing game. There's a review right now on Dash Gamer. I'm pretty sure we're going to cover the PC version as well. The Devil in Me, we have a preview up right now. Make sure you go check that out. It looks good. God of War and Sonic Frontiers. So we've got some big releases over the next couple of weeks. It's really, really cool. But guys, that is it. Man, what an episode. So if you like what you heard today, make sure that you subscribe to us here on YouTube and also over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. They surely help us out. Also, catch the VOD on dashgamer.com. Subscribe, hit that bell, give us a like, leave us a comment. It surely helps us out. We'll be back I might actually be back next week, depending on stuff, but I'll be back in a couple of weeks to continue my talk about God of War. I want to continue my talk a little bit more in depth after embargo, because there's so much I want to talk about with the game that unfortunately I can't at this time. Pretty much permitted to talk about what I did today, which is very light, I know, but it was... there was stuff there. It's going to be an awesome game, I guarantee it, guys. But until then, this operation is complete.
dashgamer.com